shouldn't be. It had gotten unplugged, but I plugged it back in. Unplug the Ethernet cable from the back of the computer and plug it back in. It's down underneath. That Cat6 cable. The Ethernet cable. Just unplug it and plug it back in and see if that fixes it. I believe so, yes. Alexa, stop. Yes. I can always count on you for having a really, really good play on words. I'm gonna turn off the AC because it's got the loud buzzing noise in the back. Alrighty. How's everybody doing tonight? Yay! All right. Tonight's one of my favorite topics. It's acidity, so I intentionally named it "Get Your Acid in Shape." No, your acid. Get your acid in shape. Okay, get your acid in shape. So the whole concept of the workshop is about balancing your body's pH. And raise your hand if you are wondering what the heck is pH. Okay, cool. So that's part of the whole concept of the workshop is give you a little bit of background information on what exactly is pH. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and dive into it. pH is basically a measure of how many hydrogen protons are in a fluid or in a solution. Hydrogen protons are basically going to determine how acidic or how basic a solution actually is. And like many things in life, our body requires a certain balance of pH. And so whether that's you measuring your blood, that's measuring the interstitial fluid in your blood, if it's measuring your saliva, there's different ways to be able to actually track and measure your body pH. And a lot of you guys, if you're patients, everybody here is a patient, you probably had the saliva test strip that you had done. If you didn't, we actually have some over there. Katie, if you want to grab them and let everybody grab a test strip and go ahead and put it on your tongue for about 5 seconds and then pull it off. And we'll pass the bottle around so you can actually test what your pH is. It'll have 2 different colors on the test strip. It'll have a top and a bottom color, and what you'll have to do is put it up next to the bottle and actually match it to the closest 2 colors, almost exact match. And what we're looking for is for your body to be in a balance of pH. And the balance that we're looking for is in between 7.35 and 7.4, if I'm not mistaken. And it'll depend on what research you're looking at for that perfect balance. It could vary from 7.25 to 7.35, but it's somewhere in that ballpark. Now, the pH scale is an interesting thing. So basic terminology, the pH scale will go all the way from the low end of 1 to the high end of 14. So it'll range from 1 to 14. And on the pH scale, 1 is considered extremely acidic, and 14 is considered very, very alkaline. Now, trade out terminology, you can also call alkaline basic. So in most cases, we don't want to be basic, but for tonight's purposes, you definitely want to be basic because we don't want to be acidic, and I'll go through reasons of why. But as you can see, it actually starts at 0. I was mistaken. It isn't 1. It starts all the way at 0 for pure battery acid. It goes all the way up to liquid drain cleaner. So just like anything else in life, if you go to the far extremes, it's no longer healthy. And it can, anything in excess, anything in extreme isn't necessarily going to be ideal. So the same thing holds true for the pH scale. But the pH scale is a logarithmic scale. What that means is every step that you go on the pH scale, if it go from step 2, for instance, to step 3, is a factor of 10. So if I'm moving up the scale, as I go up the scale, I'm getting more alkaline. So from a pH of 1 to a pH of 2 is 10 times more alkaline or more basic than a pH of 1. And then subsequently, if I go from a pH of 1 to a pH of 3, it's now 10 times 10 because I'm taking 2 steps on the scale, so it's 100 times more alkaline than pH of 1. Does everybody follow that? So the math can explode, it's logarithmic, so it can exponentially increase in the severity or the difference in change. Go ahead and pass the bottle around for everybody to test their saliva pH so you can figure out where you score on that. Saliva pH should be somewhere between 6.8 and 7.5 for an ideal range. So if you're scoring like 6.5 or lower, very, very acidic, it's an indicator that your body needs better regulation of the pH. Anybody have any questions on that? Cool. Good talk. So where are we supposed to be at? Well, pure water is considered neutral, right in the middle. So our body pH is 7.35 to 7.4. And the reason why is because we need to be in balance. We're going to actually be talking real quick here in a second about cellular balance. But this is the whole concept of a thing I love. It's called the science of fine-tuning. And so I selected a clip for you guys to watch from a really, really cool video series. Well, it's actually just one video.
The moon at this pole is what allows planet Earth to sustain life. No moon, no life, which raises the question, how did we get our moon? Scientists believe that our moon was some sort of meteor or asteroid that was just flying through our galaxy and essentially got stuck in the Earth's gravitational pull, making it the cosmological equivalent of, oh, all right. But I have a dark side. Hydrogen on planet Earth must convert 1/7,000th of its mass to helium continually for the Earth to sustain human life. 0.007, 0.008, no life on planet Earth. 0.006, no life on planet Earth. Our atmosphere is 21% oxygen. 23% oxygen, no life on planet Earth. 19% oxygen, no life on planet Earth. The ocean. Our oceans are 3.4% salt. The oceans are 3.4% salt, which is the exact percentage of salt in the human bloodstream. 4% salt in the ocean for our bloodstream, no life on planet Earth. 2% salt in our bloodstream for the oceans, no life on planet Earth. This is, by the way, called the science of fine-tuning. And there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these unbelievably precise numbers that all add up to life on planet Earth. Carbon levels, gravitational force, the density of minerals and final elements that all add up perfectly. Metaphor is simply this. It's as if there are these dials to create and sustain life on planet Earth. It's as if there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these dials, and every single one of them has been adjusted just perfectly. And this one goes to 11. And
Throughout the series, he goes through
every
the
single
entire
one of them
whiteboard.
adjusted just
It's actually a 1-hour video.
hundreds of them. It isn't just that there are hundreds and hundreds of them, and somehow, someone has adjusted them just perfectly. It's the haunting truth that if just one of them were even slightly turned in any direction, it would render the accuracy of all of the hundreds of others irrelevant. It isn't just that there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these dials. It's as if you just messed with one of them, it wouldn't matter about the precise accuracy of every single other one. What a strange, mysterious little floating blue and green ball we call home. Now, the general estimate is that our universe is 10 to the 27th power.
So he's going to keep going and going and going for the grandness of the universe and then bring it down to the microcosm of the human body and start talking about cells. So as you were watching that, you literally had millions upon millions of cells in your body that replicated. Literally, as I'm speaking right now and you're listening to me, you have skin cells that are replicating, they're dividing. One skin cell divides into 2 skin cells, and old skin cells are dying off, and your body is going through this replication and growth process. So when we really start talking about health, I want to really shift your focus and get you guys to start questioning, what is my cellular health? And start thinking in that concept of cellular health, because on a fundamental basis, the cells in your body all require 6 fundamental things. I said fundamental twice. No, I said it 3 times. But 6 things that your body requires. Number 1 is nerve supply. Your cells in your body can't function properly without having an adequate supply of nerve flow. Nerve supply is going to determine how well that cell is actually able to organize its parts and produce what it needs to assimilate nutrition, get rid of waste. So nerve supply is very important, and that's what we focus on in Stronghold Health, being a chiropractic clinic. Then you have nutrients, right? So nutrients, just like we as humans require food, the cells in our body require food. So water would be the third one, and we're going to talk a little bit more about water, right? You have to drink water, you have to get water in your body. Your body overall is about 78% water. Detox, so when you get food in, if you can't get rid of food, you've got a problem. So the same thing happens with the cells in our body. The cells in our body have to have the ability to get rid of waste. And then here's where we get to number 5, proper pH. So it's got to have the right environment. And pH is super important on a cellular level because it determines the environment that the cells in our body are able to live in. They're either going to live and thrive in that environment, or they're going to have a hard time actually breathing, more or less. It's called cellular respiration. The wrong pH in the body will actually affect your cell's ability to replicate properly, to function properly, and to cellularly respirate effectively. Then oxygen is the last one, which comes back to respiration. So what we're focusing on when we're talking about pH is, again, the environment and the body. So we got to make sure all the cells in our body are at that right pH level. Basically, when it comes down to it, if you were to take the Merck Manual of Disease, which is, the manual, the Bible, if you will, of all listed diseases, you have roughly 97% of the disease processes that we know of, and they all start with inflammation. When you start studying the mechanism of the disease itself, it's clusters of cells in the body not functioning properly, and inflammation being one of the underlying problems. Now, wrong pH is going to create inflammation in the body. So overall, you could say most disease, if you really wanted to boil it down, aging and most forms of cancer are caused by groups of cells in our body not functioning properly, not replicating efficiently, or dying off too rapidly. So basically, if the cells in your body are healthy, then ideally we should be healthy as well. But if the cells in our body aren't healthy, then our body is manifesting or developing disease. And we could boil it down and break down the word disease and say dis-ease. Our body is no longer at ease. And that's really where you start getting into chiropractic philosophy. And I could talk to you all night about that. But disease. So we're trying to avoid disease. Acidic pH in the body creates a poor environment. It harbors disease. It allows disease to facilitate. So our body is roughly 78 trillion cells. If we have a healthy pH, the healthy pH should be 7.35 to 7.4. Cool? Everybody got that? We got the fundamentals. Now we can move on. I will say one thing, homeostasis. The science of fine-tuning. When you see the word homeostasis, it means body is in balance. Body is doing what it's supposed to. Body is happy. When we turn the dials on one thing, it screws up other areas in the body and other systems. So I focus a lot on nervous system, being a chiropractor, but I want you guys to remember the 6 things that the cells in your body need, and make sure that on a daily basis you're asking yourself that question, hey, am I addressing all 6 of these things? Am I getting water? Am I addressing pH? Am I getting oxygen to the cells in my body? And that's where we start talking about different types of exercise. But anyway, homeostasis and balance. So our body is in the middle, and if you keep watching that video, if you do want to go on YouTube and watch that video, it's called Everything is Spiritual. Very, very cool video, the one that you were just watching, and he starts talking about if you were to take the average of the largest planets in the solar system, or the largest sun in the solar system, and then go microscopically to the atom, and you categorize everything in size, that human beings are literally the middle. We're like the mean middle of the universe, which is kind of cool. I'm not trying to put us on a pedestal or anything, but we're pretty cool. We're pretty important. And when you really start studying the human body, you find there's extremes, not just for pH, but for other areas, where we're like right in the mean middle, and that's where the balance is, and that's where we need to be. So anyway, we start talking about 78 trillion cells in the body. The important reason for cellular health and making sure the 6 things that your cells need you're getting and you're addressing is important, because when we're talking about different organs, different differentiated cells in our body, like your heart, for instance, or your skin as another example, or like your spleen as another example, all of those cells replicate and divide at different speeds. And so you could stand to put together a theory, if you will, right, of every single year your body is under construction, or every single day your body is under construction, because the cells in your body are replicating and dividing. So for instance, if I were to cut myself on my skin, how long does it take for that cut to fully heal? Anybody ever think about that? 28 to 35 days, depending on the research, which basically means that my body produces and develops new skin cells from underneath that cut, and then pushes all the dead cells away and completely replaces that skin. So your skin, the largest organ in your body, you get a new sheet, a new set of skin, right, every 28 days. Kind of crazy, right? So if it's true for your skin, is it true for other organs in your body? Yes. Technically, your entire skeletal system replaces every period of time. Your heart, all of the cells that make up your heart replace. They're replaced. They're replicated, and the diseased and damaged ones ideally are gotten rid of, and then the new ones take its place. So we're continually under. This says new skin 14 days, but that's just for the top layer. For all of the skin layer to replace, it's more like 28 days. New blood, 120 days for all of the blood that circulates through your body to fully be replaced cellularly. New lungs every 6 months. So start thinking about cellular health, and your body actually has the ability to replace organs. You're going to start getting technical, right? So balancing pH. We're going to do some demo stuff here in a minute. But if we hop back to pH, why is pH so important, and what are some ways that we could throw pH off in our body? And the most obvious thing is by the foods and the things that we eat. So the things that we expose our body to have the ability to alter pH, especially if I'm consuming something that's extremely acidic in relationship to the balance that my body should have, or the balance that my body would want to have. Now, the occasional thing here and there, it's not going to do it, but let's say I drink a can of soda every day. In fact, not just one can of soda, I'm addicted to soda. And in high school, this is true. My dad sitting over there could probably tell you, I got addicted to Mountain Dew. And when Mountain Dew LimeWire came out, it was like the orange one. True story, Scout's honor. I went to Target because my brother was working at Target and he could get a discount, and I bought a whole cart of LimeWire. Yeah, no, it's bad. Bad history. Okay, so, but if you drink one can of soda every single day, obviously the accumulated effect of it produces disease in the body. So, one can of soda has a pH of 2.5. Everybody remember the scale? Is 2.5 acidic or alkaline? It's all the way down by the bottom. It's super acidic. In fact, it's 50,000 times more acidic than what neutral would be. And so, standing to the math, it would take 30 cups of neutral water, me drinking a water of 7.0, to neutralize the acid from that one can of soda. So, pH becomes very, very important. Now, does that mean you need to be running around pulling your hair out and looking like me? No. Freaking out about everything that you're eating and drinking? Not necessarily, but to be mindful of it. In fact, for attending tonight, I'm going to email everybody a food cheat sheet that's 10 pages long that lists a lot of different foods and categorizes the food from extremely acidic to very, very alkaline. And it's not what the food itself is, but it's the effect that it produces when you consume it, which is very important. Anybody have any questions on that? Cool. That means we get to move on. So, if I were to do this, just an example, I drink soda every single day, a couple cans of soda. What exactly happened in my body? Well, I'll tell you what happened in my body. My body got pretty acidic, and to balance out the acid, my body is trying to do what's called homeostasis, so it has to use what it has to be able to balance out that acid. And so if I wasn't drinking 30 cups of water for every cup of soda that I would drink, then my body had to do something else to be able to, you might have checked that's a patient trying to attend the workshop. Okay, then I would have to do something else. And so for me, my body had to pull calcium phosphate from my bones to neutralize the acid. And so slowly over time, it decreased my bone density. And it was one of many factors. I was taking asthma inhalers. I was drinking a lot of milk that was high in lactose sugar, which was acidic. But the cumulative effect of it caused decreased bone density. And so I don't know how or when I ended up getting a compression fracture at T10 lower in my thoracic spine. And it was a minor compression fracture, but it wasn't trauma related. I don't remember any specific car accident that caused it. But it's there on my x-rays. The only way that happens is with low bone density. So what our body does when we have all this acid that it forms, if it can't neutralize it by pulling, stuff from your bone, like that example, your body will take all the acidic waste, if you will, and it will try to compartmentalize it and contain it. And when it does that and it keeps it in a certain organ, then that organ has inflammation, and we name a lot of diseases based on the source of the organ, where the inflammation is. So for instance, if there's inflammation in my pancreas, it's called pancreatitis. If there's inflammation, because itis means inflammation, pancreas, so inflammation of the pancreas. Heart disease, if there's inflammation in my colon, it's colitis, and we could go down and down the list. So just be mindful of this. I'm kind of boiling it down. It's not that simple, but the grand concept of it, if you get it, that's the most important part. Here are some other sources of acidity. Meats. So conventionally raised red meat would be a good example. In your sheets that you have in front of you, I believe all the way on the back there's a color-coordinated chart that will show you some foods. So I did give you a little bit, but I've got an expanded version of it that would still be to come. I'm going to have to email it to everybody. But meat itself, you'll find, as depending on the source, like 4.5, 5, it's a little bit more acidic for red meat. Sugars, refined sugars. Did you guys know if you take a saltine cracker, put it on your tongue, within 8 seconds the amylase on your tongue, that enzyme will break down the carbohydrate into sugar? Now you know it. Now you know. So depending on the types of carbs that we're eating, we could be increasing the overall sugar content in our body and our blood sugar levels. Then we have caffeine. Caffeine in excess, definitely more than 100 milligrams a day. Maybe a cup of coffee a day isn't going to kill you, but if you're doing a lot, that definitely is an acidic source. Salts, so concentrated salts. This doesn't mean like a rock salt, but this would be like sodium chloride, iodized table salt. Yeah, you can take a picture, I don't care. Alcohol. Now, again, in excess, right? So, anybody have the college days they remember? No? I shouldn't raise my hand, right? No. But the college days, or anybody who's drank a lot of alcohol in a short period of time, you know how your body can get. Very, very acidic, bloated. Tobacco and AGEs products. So AGEs is advanced glycosylating end products. It's what happens when you char and you burn something really, really bad. So you put chicken on the grill, but you get that huge, thick black coat of char on it from burning it. That's AGEs. Very, very acidic. Artificial sweeteners, sucralose, aspartame, all lab-altered medications, especially if it's molecularly messed with and the structure of it is chemically changed from natural, and then poor quality water. So we're going to focus a lot today on poor quality water. Remember I said being basic is important? Not this type of basic. So you don't want to be the basic you know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. Yeah. The S-Bucks, I can't say product names on Facebook, but the Frappa, Mocha, Chapa, Lapa, Lido, or whatever, all those drinks, when you're doing an excess of those and you're extremely basic, that will cause you to be acidic. So my encouragement is don't be that person. So what we eat and drink, I want you guys to just start thinking about it, the sources of it. Remember it in excess. So coffee, certain teas. Now, does that mean tea is bad for you? Not necessarily. But if you're an excess tea drinker, tea has the ability to cause problems. So excess tea drinkers, a lot of British will have stains on their teeth from drinking so much tea because tea itself has the ability to affect the enamel in your teeth, your esophagus anyway, we go down a whole rabbit hole. But soft drinks, foods high in bad fats is another thing to consider. So when I was talking about red meat, part of the reason why red meat is bad is because of altered omega ratios. So it's the fat ratio that's in conventionally raised red meat that causes it to have an acidic effect. Because it affects cellular respiration. It affects the environment of your cells. All right, cool. Basically, the Western American diet. So this is an example of the food chart that I'm going to send everybody. So I think it's 10 pages long, so there's a lot of stuff that's on there. You might not need everything on there. So what are some simple ways that we can maybe alter pH? That's a great question. Can essential oils maybe be something that we could do? Absolutely. Who uses essential oils? Love essential oils. If you don't use essential oils, you need to start. I will adopt you into our culture. It's all good. Essential oils support the body to help it heal itself. So oils specific for detox and pH are going to be lemon, lemongrass, grapefruit, and juniper. This brand we're not currently selling. It's an MLM company, and we found another source that, in my opinion, is the exact same quality, but no MLM. So I'll tell you guys about that here in a second. But for pictorial reference, they have really beautiful pictures all over online. So. Lemongrass. So why is lemongrass good? It helps with a decongestion. So lemongrass you can actually use on your face, on the lymph nodes on your neck, and actually inhaling lemongrass helps as a decongestion. So a great thing for lemongrass is to take lemongrass and put it in an oil diffuser and breathe that in, especially if you have congestion problems. If you have a humidifier that allows you to mix oil into it, you can take a humidifier and drop lemongrass in there, and that also is a great way of being able to clear out some sinuses. It's great for lymphatic cleansing. So you've got lymph nodes on your neck. Everybody turn your head. Feel the big muscle in your neck right here? Yep, yep. Right along the front of that. You can kind of dig your fingers in a little bit. If you just go vertical along that muscle, you can feel little lumps. Those are lymph nodes. So you have a bunch of lymph nodes that go across the front of your neck. You have lymph nodes that go across the top of your shoulder. You have lymph nodes that go in your armpit. Axillary lymph nodes. So those are all common spots that you can take essential oils that have lymphatic capability or the ability to help with lymph flow and lymph drainage, and you can place them in all of those locations that I just showed you. You can also take it internally or rub it over your abdomen, but if you're going to rub it over your abdomen, you should rub it over your liver. And if you want to find out where your liver is, Google it. I can tell you, but you'll forget. There. Okay, cool. There you go. Just got to make sure it's on the right side. All right, antioxidant. So lemon is great. Lemon's a great way that you can go ahead and, you can put lemon essential oil in your water. And you can drink lemon water. It's a great way of being able to detox. Now, does that make the water itself alkaline? Not necessarily, but it's the effect that the lemon has when your body digests it and breaks it down. Okay? So don't get caught in the trap of I can only drink alkaline things, okay? It's about how it has the effect in your body. It's great for liver, kidneys, fat chemicals in the body. Also supports lymphatic drainage. So another one common theme here, you're going to see most of these are supporting lymphatic drainage. So you can place them in places that are going to help with lymph flow. Cool. Grapefruit. I hate grapefruit. Just saying. Doesn't mean it's bad, but I hate grapefruit. There's a part of your brain when you smell things that elicits emotion because they're tied together in your brain. And I don't know what happened when I was a kid, but I didn't have a good experience with grapefruit. So anytime I smell grapefruit, to me it tastes bad. And that's again because of the association of that part of your brain. So essential oils are really interesting because the aroma of the oil has the ability to excite different areas of your brain depending on whether or not you've had pleasant or poor experience with it. Interesting stuff. Juniper berry would be another one. Powerful detoxifying and diuretic properties. It neutralizes and counteracts toxins. We have a book in the office that's over there. But you have the most amazing book. It's called Dr. Google. So you can go to Google and you can type in juniper berry and how to use it. Great. Here's the company that we like. It's the company that we have on the shelves, and we haven't ordered for a little while because they've been delayed with COVID, but they're back in production and they have like a 6-day backlog on orders before they ship them. We'll process and then ship them. So if you're interested in any of these oils and you want us to order any for you, let us know. But you can also go to their website and direct order from them. They don't have just essential oils. They have a whole plethora of product. Cool.
Water sucks. Gatorade's better. But lights out too. Gatorade not only quenches your thirst better, it tastes better too, kid. You're drinking the wrong water. Gatorade. It's cool. Gatorade. It's cool. Water sucks. It really, really sucks. Water sucks. It really, really sucks.
So, Gatorade or water, I guess you have your choice. Obviously, water is a little bit healthier. But the question is all water good? I think it's time for a demo. Let's find out. So for our demo, basically what we're going to do is we're going to use these things. They're called pH reagent drops. Anybody ever get their pool acid levels tested? They use pH reagent drops. So basically, it's an orange fluid. Some of them are blue fluid, depending on the concentration. But you take this, you drip it in the water, and then the water itself will change colors, and the colors that it changes to determine where it actually scores on the pH scale. So what I'd like to do right now is actually test some very common products that some of us in here might actually drink on the regular. We're going to start all the way on this side, and I guess I got Katie here that's going to end up helping me out with opening some of these and pouring them, but Smart Water started to sell an alkaline version. So not all bottled water is created the same. Water doesn't suck, but some water does suck. So we're going to do just a little bit on that. That's good. And then, I guess if you want, you can go down the line pouring them. That's fine. And then we'll get to testing them. So what else do we have? What are you holding right there?
Sparkling ice.
Sparkling
Flavored
ice?
Sparkling water.
Okay, so flavored sparkling water. Here I've got Deer Park.
And then just regular Smart Water.
So it's not alkaline.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Purely balanced pH. So.
Interesting. So I'm curious about some of these because, I mean, you could spend a lot more money buying alkaline water. It's advertised as alkaline, but maybe not all of it is alkaline. I guess we'll see. Here I've got Sierra Mist. Cool. Then I've got Sprite. And we waited to open these because we wanted to show you guys that we aren't making this up. That's all right.
Then Dasani.
By the way, we're not in the business of shaming, so if you drink Sprite, shame on you. No, I'm just kidding. If you drink any of these, don't take it personal. I assume you just didn't know, and then maybe after today, you'll be like, I'm not going to drink that anymore. Here I've got Core Hydration, so Core Water, and they're advertised for Core Water as being slightly alkaline. I think it says on the bottle it's 7.4, so we'll see. Here I've got a Wild Cherry Canadian Sparkling Water.
Powerade Zero Sugar Power Water.
Powerade. Oh, yeah. All right, cool. So as we go down the line, what you're going to find is maybe you're surprised, maybe you're not. So the first one we've got here is the pH 9 plus Smart Water. And what do we have there? Turned blue. So pretty close to 9 plus, I would say. I believe they're advertising. Next, we've got the sparkling ice. It's lemon lime, 0 sugar. And that looks like it's an orange. Would you say it's acidic? Right. Very cool. Next, we have regular Smart Water. So the question is regular Smart Water alkaline? Yellow. Yellowish green, maybe a 5.5, so acidic. And if you're curious about tap water at home or filtered fridge water, believe it or not, you can actually bring your water in, and I have a digital pH tester. So it'll tell us the exact pH level that it is to a hundredth of a decimal, I believe. What do we got here? Orange. So 4 for Sierra Mist. And obviously I'm rounding these. Deer Park. So Deer Park has always been a go-to for me. I guess it's the source of the water for them and how they do not actually alter the water by adding fluoride or adding other processing chemicals to it for cleaning purposes. But look at that. It's not alkaline. It doesn't say it's alkaline on the bottle. It just says 100% natural spring water. So on a budget, Deer Park is one of the ones I always go to. Like if I'm traveling and I go to a hotel, I don't trust drinking the hotel water, I'll just go buy a 24-pack of Deer Park. Then we've got the Dasani. Oh, man. I don't know if this is still true, but I was told back in the day that Dasani, I used to live up in New Jersey, Dasani, I guess, pulls their water from the Delaware River for one of their main processing plants. So I don't know if it's true, but Delaware River, people don't even want to swim in the Delaware River. Okay, so 4 for Sprite. So most soda, you can just assume, especially if it has high fructose corn syrup or corn sugar in there, the sugar is what makes it acidic. It's not necessarily the fact that it's carbonated. Although carbonation does affect alkalinity, the sugar is the thing that's going to make it very, very acidic. Now you've got Core Smart Hydration. This was advertised at a 7.4. I don't know about you, but that looks like fairly accurate. 7.4, so very neutral. So Core is another good one for drinking neutral water. I bet I'm going to get this taken off Facebook for naming products, but we'll see. Then you've got Canadian sparkling water. Propel. Anybody think Propel is going to be alkaline? No? Oh, come on. Doesn't look like it. Then we've got, what is this one? Power water. I think it's Gatorade. Gatorade. No, it's Powerade. But I think we're seeing a recurring theme here. Then you've got Essentia. Yeah? Anybody a fan of this? It's one of my first introductions to alkaline water, believe it or not. It is the darkest, the most alkaline thing on the table. Look at that. So pretty much every time I've tested Essentia, this says 9.5 or higher. It's been spot on, so it's very, very alkaline. Now, why is that good? Well, let's say you're drinking soda, right? And you're drinking something that's down here. If I drink neutral water, right, at a 7, was that Dasani? Which one was neutral? Core. So if I'm drinking something that's at a 7 right in the middle, I'd have to drink 30 cups of this to neutralize that. But what if I drink something that, after I drink the soda, is all the way up here? Does it have the ability to neutralize? I guess we'll see. So what I've got here is what I was drinking. This is pH 10 from our water alkaline machine. And I'm curious if I add pH 10 here, does it neutralize? I guess that's what we're going to find out. Look at that. It depends on how acidic it is. That I'll be pouring all day. That's already alkaline. It neutralized that. It's not going to neutralize the Sprite. That's already fairly neutral. I'm going to have to go for a while on that one. The Propel, probably have to go for a while on that one. So if you are drinking, tap water or something that isn't extremely acidic but slightly acidic, and it falls somewhere in this ballpark of 5.5 to 6, by drinking alkaline water after the fact, you can actually neutralize a lot of it. So just a fun fact, and pretty cool to see. Does anybody have questions on that? Plastic, for the most part, should not affect the pH unless it's sitting in heat. But then you don't want to be drinking from a plastic water bottle anyway, because it'll leach phthalates and plastic lining, bisphenol, and different types of bisphenol as well. They have bisphenol A all the way through like bisphenol S. But it'll leach a lot of plastic contaminants into the water, especially when it's heated. So you can do this at home if you really, really want to, and you want to do a little science experiment. It's super fun. All you got to do is buy pH reagent drops. Cool? All right. Have fun. So I want to take a couple of minutes and I want to go through alkaline water and what exactly is alkaline water, because I had a patient that had asked me about reverse osmosis, and reverse osmosis water is the same thing as alkaline water, and the answer is no. But why water is so important? Because the circle of life. So my 2-year-old toddler loves watching the new Lion King on Disney Plus, and I literally have the circle of life stuck in my head. So when I was driving in tonight, I was like, I'm going to talk about the circle of life, and there's my drop for the circle of life. That's why water is so important. So is alkaline water blessed by Eskimo medicine man? Not necessarily. It's you could call it restructured water. Alkaline water itself is alkaline because it gets ionized. So alkaline water gets passed through charged palladium plates, and depending on the manufacturer, they'll use different types of precious metal, but generally palladium plates. And so the palladium plates are charged plates. And basically what happens is water passes through there, and then depending on the setting of what type of water you're trying to get, it takes hydrogen and oxygen and breaks the bonds to form hydroxyls, OH, and hydrogens, which are hydrogen protons. And then it separates it into 2 chambers. So if you want alkaline water, it pulls all the hydroxyls, the OH, to one side, and then that's what it's outputting, is a certain concentration of those OH in the water. So it's basically splitting the water. But if you want acid water, there's actually good benefits and good uses for acid water, and I provided you guys a sheet that shows you the different types of pH levels for water when you're looking at structured water and how you can actually utilize it. But you can use acid water to clean countertop surfaces. You can use it to cook with pasta, and it cooks the pasta faster. There's all kinds of really interesting uses for it. But water is super important because our body's 78% water. You can live 10 days without food, theoretically maybe 14 days without food, depending on how much excess you got. But you can't live 3 days without water because you'll dehydrate and your body will not be able to function. So if you have the ability to, I would encourage you to get your hands on alkaline water and drink alkaline water on a regular basis. If you haven't been drinking alkaline water and you've been drinking water that falls in this spectrum over here where it was like a 5.5, a 6, slightly acidic compared to what your body needs, then I would start with a pH level of 7.5 or 8 for the alkalinity instead of just jumping straight into like a pH of 9. Because if you drink a bunch of this, it'll give you the poos for some of us. Because it's just such a shock to your system, you have to kind of work your way up to drinking more concentrated alkaline water. Now, the machine that we have is called a Living Water. It's from a company named Vollara. Vollara has a lot and holds a lot of patents for some of the technology for water ionizers. Right now, most patients just go back there and fill it up and they don't change the setting. So if you are filling up water in our office, there's different settings. This says 8.5. There's buttons on there that'll tell you what setting it's at. So make sure when you're starting out with filling up water, pretty sure it's $1 a gallon right now. Okay. I put in the PowerPoint slide, $2 a gallon. So maybe we'll up the price to that. No, I'm just kidding. Whole Foods, I think, has it for $2 a gallon for alkaline water. So if you go across the street, it's more expensive, but you can select different settings and you can go all the way down to acidic, believe it or not. So if you want to start filling up acid water, it's still $1 a gallon, but make sure you use it for the right things. And if you don't have the ability to get your hands on one of these, they're a little bit more expensive. I'd encourage you to get one at home. You'll notice better energy levels. You'll notice your body will shed excess water weight when you're drinking it regularly. Your body will have an easier time actually detoxing. So it does a lot of really, really good stuff in your body when you drink alkaline water on the regular. But if you can't get one of these at home, they're like MSRP, I think, $2,000. But through our clinic, we can always get it to you discounted for like $1,300 for the machine. And it'll pay for itself in a year, 2 years, instead of you buying bottled water. Then you can always get one of these.
Water is charged by the earth, rich in molecular hydrogen and infused with antioxidant properties. Unfortunately, the water we drink is typically chemically treated and stripped of electrons. Most water is unable to fight oxidation, which can contribute to aging and inflammation. Up to 75% of people show signs of chronic dehydration, and just a 5% drop in body fluids can cause a 25 to 30% loss in energy. At Vollara, our mission is to transform drinking water into the ultimate solution for hydration, full of the properties that once made it so precious. For the first time in North America, we are introducing a revolutionary way to stay hydrated, H2 Fuel, the essential portable water bottle that can be taken anywhere for superior hydration. Simply charge it, fill with water, push the button, and watch as hydrogen bubbles transform the water in just a few minutes. Through the process of electrolysis, H2 Fuel infuses the water with electron-rich hydrogen molecules, increasing hydration, improving our energy levels, boosting our mood, and flushing toxins from the body, all while reducing the oxidation normally associated with physical aging. H2 Fuel will change the way we hydrate forever, providing fresh, hydrogen-rich water with every sip. Because if we're going to...
So H2 Fuel came out about 2 years ago, and then since then the technology has been pretty much reverse engineered by other companies. So we have these that we had ordered, and later this week, maybe early next week, we'll have a small shipment of them coming in. So they're going to retail for $99. They're rechargeable. It has a 3-minute and a 5-minute ionization sequence. Right now it's on the 3-minute sequence. So if you want to wait the entire time period for 3 minutes, it'll alkalize your water and it'll get it up to a content of, I'm pretty sure on the pH level of like 8.5. And then 5 minutes gets it a little bit higher, like 8.8, 8.9, but it alkalizes your water. So the only downside on this is it doesn't filter your water. So the machine that I was showing you before will run your water through filter process first. So it'll pull out fluoride, it'll pull out chlorine, it'll pull out a lot of sediment, just like a Brita water filter or something like that might do. Or even reverse osmosis. Reverse osmosis is if you were to imagine a screen and you try and shoot water through a screen, if there's any large contaminants that are in that water, the screen will block it and only the water will come through. That's essentially what reverse osmosis is, but on a very, very small scale. So the screen holes are really, really tiny. So reverse osmosis doesn't do anything to change the pH, the acidity level, or the structure of the water. It just simply pulls out bad stuff, right? But even reverse osmosis might not pull out chlorine or fluoride. There's typically special filters you'll have to run that through, and sometimes you have to run the water through ceramic pore, like a porous ceramic, to pull some of that stuff out. So there's special filters for that. The Vollara living water machine that we have back there has a 2-stage filtration process where it'll do like a 10-step filter, and then the second stage of the filtration process, the second filter, is the special filter that'll pull out the fluoride and the chlorine. So it'll filter the water first. Now you've got clean water coming in. Then it takes the filtered water and it runs it over the charged palladium plates. In this case, it's a disc, so it's not flat plates. So the less expensive version will run it through rectangular plates that are charged. The Vollara machine runs it around a charged disc, which is kind of interesting, and they have a patent on that technology. So you probably won't see any other company have that until the patent runs out. But the benefit of that is you can actually run warm water or hot water through the water ionizer without damaging it, versus if you were to do that with other brands, like expensive brand to buy a water ionizer is Kangen. A Kangen water machine doesn't have that ability. If you run hot water through it, you void the warranty. So that's one thing. And then they also, if you have a machine, you have to send it to the factory to get the filters replaced. Kind of weird. With the one that we have back there, you just slide the top off, unscrew the filters out, and put new ones in. So every 10,000 liters, we replace the filter. But if you want to take a picture of this, feel free to. This is as of 7 months ago, so it should still be fairly accurate. But this is the pH levels of many different brands going all the way up, and there's the Essentia one that we had tested, being greater than 9. Fiji is another one that surprised me, very much like Deer Park, where it's not neutral, but it's slightly alkaline, so a little bit higher than neutral. Because remember, for a body pH, it's a 7.35, but Fiji is 7.5, so it's a little bit alkaline compared to neutral, so it's a good balanced water to drink. Deer Park, I don't know if it's on here or not. It says 6.3, but the interesting thing about that is it depends on, I guess, which Deer Park you're testing. I don't know if that was Deer Park that was the seltzer water version of Deer Park, because I know they have those that are out. So the best thing you can always do, obviously, is if you're drinking something on the regular, maybe just test it yourself and see if what you're commonly putting in your body is in fact that. So again, filtered water is just filtered, right? You run it through a filtration process. Reverse osmosis is a little bit better than filtered water. So you've got like low end of the spectrum, low end of the totem pole for quality would be tap water, right? So it's coming from a municipality. It's going through a treatment plant. They're adding fluoride to the water. They're putting it through their filtration process. Then they're running it through all different types of piping, including from the meter of the water company to your house, depending on what type of piping you have. It could be PVC, it could be PEX or hex piping, whatever it's called. So you're running it through a lot of plastic pipes. And then finally it gets to your tap and you're drinking it. So if you haven't tested your tap water, I'd encourage you to do so. If you are drinking tap water or fridge filtered water, bring it in, let us test it for you. So anyway, that's the bottom of the spectrum. Then you've got like a Brita filter that might be a little bit better than that. So the Brita filter will run it through like carbon, and it's generally carbon that it'll run it through, little carbon beadlets to filter your water. Then you've got like a fridge filter, which might have carbon, that might have porous rock, and then a couple of other things that it'll run the water through. And then you have reverse osmosis, which is going to be probably one of the cleanest types of filters. Then on top of reverse osmosis, you'll have a water ionizer that filters your water and then restructures it. And then the top of the line will be a 3-step process where you'll filter the water, you'll ionize the water, and then you'll charge the water. When you charge the water, you're taking it a step higher because now you're not just drinking alkaline water, you're adding electrolytes to the water. Cool. I'm glad we had that talk. So we can get into all the science of it, but we don't necessarily need to go down that rabbit hole. I think you guys have a pretty good idea that acidic water isn't necessarily the best for you. great example, look at acid rain and what it does to trees. Yeah. So acid rain is a natural phenomenon where the water doesn't get to go through the process that it's supposed to neutralize that water, and it actually comes from the clouds acidic. And there's multiple different reasons for that. Some of it could be environmental toxicity. But the end of the story is acid water, no good. So try and avoid acidic water if you can. Again, if you're drinking tap water, consider where it's coming from. It's fluorinated, stored, and then piped to your home. And then bottled water, you had asked this question about plastic, right? Does plastic affect it? Well, plastic can add toxicity, phthalates and leach plastic byproduct into the water. But if you're buying alkaline water that's in plastic, it should stay relatively alkaline to whatever the pH of the water was until you open it. When you open it and you expose it to oxygen, it will start to slowly change the pH. So even when you fill up alkaline water here, if you fill up alkaline water here and you're using a plastic jug, you should be relatively okay if you're drinking it in a shorter period of time. But I'd discourage you from using a cheap plastic jug like a recycled milk jug. Try and get yourself a nicer container like glass, perhaps. But stainless steel bottles have a somewhat adverse effect on your alkaline water. So if you're planning on storing alkaline water, I'd discourage you from using stainless steel, because stainless steel will in fact affect the alkalinity. It won't last as long. But generally speaking, shelf life for an unsealed alkaline water bottle is roughly 3.5 days, 3.5 to 4 days. So pH itself in our body could be considered a fifth vital sign. There's 4 vitals when you're talking about the medical world. I like to say pH is our fifth vital. So, signs of acidity in the body are typically going to be tied to signs of dehydration. You can't necessarily say that there's symptoms of just being acidic unless your body is in fact like in a state of acidosis, which is very, very rare. But generally speaking, dehydration would be the first thing that I would look for signs of. Memory loss, you've got the occasional headaches, you've got maybe a tough time losing weight where your body's retaining water, all signs, tiredness, hunger, all signs of dehydration. So if you're hungry, drink water, wait 10 minutes, then you'll know if you're actually hungry. A lot of times when you're hungry, you're actually thirsty. It's a sign of dehydration. But the point I'm getting to is at the end of the day, you will be less dehydrated if you drink alkaline water because your body will actually be able to better use the water. I had mentioned acidity. I had mentioned electrolytes and restructuring the water to make it an antioxidant version of water. And that's when you get high quality H2O. So high quality H2O is when you are going to actually deliver the antioxidant properties to the water. So you're affecting what's called the ORP, the oxidative reductive potential of the water. There's a picture that's back there, I believe it's still back there next to the alkaline machine. If it isn't, I'm going to put it up next to our machine again, of 2 cups. One of them is tap water, the other cup is alkaline water. And basically what they did is a little experiment where they put nails in the cup. So brand new nails that they bought from like Home Depot. Tap water, after about a month and a half of just sitting in there, the nails got all rusty, disgusting, nasty, corroded. For the restructured alkaline water that had the ORP affected, it was essentially antioxidant water. The nails were in there for the exact same period of time. They were the exact same nail, but they weren't all rusted. So when you cut an apple, a good example of oxidation is the apple is exposed to the air, the oxygen settles down on it and then has a chemical reaction with the apple. Everybody knows when you cut an apple and you leave it out, it turns brown and it looks rusty. That's an example of free radical formation and oxidization. So that process happens in our body. we're talking about the structure of water. If I go all the way back and look at these are hydrogen, H2O, yes. 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen, right? So the structure of water, the water itself, overall, in a general, like if I were to just pour out tap water and I let water sit, will have destabilization for a small percentage of those molecules. So all the molecules that are in my water, not all of them stay in that bonded state. Okay, so some of them, the hydrogen protons break away from the OH. And so when you're filtering and ionizing water, basically you're passing it through the machine and the machine is splitting and pulling one of the hydrogens but then keeping the OH. So it'll keep the oxygen hydrogen, and it's called a hydroxyl. It's OH minus, H plus, so it splits them. So the more H pluses that you have by themselves that aren't bonded in that molecular state, the more acidic it is. So now if I take a substance that has a bunch of these H pluses by themselves, they're extremely unstable. They want to bond to something. And I put them in my body, they have the ability to bond to free radicals and actually oxidize and create chemical process that causes aging, that affects blood sugar levels, that just creates a bad environment. So anyway, that's essentially what happens. And when you're measuring pH, you're measuring how many hydrogen protons in concentration are in that fluid. So this obviously is going to be more acidic and more hydrogen protons than this, which is a little bit more stable water structure. Cool? It's an easy way of explaining it. So we want some high quality H2O, then what we can do is make sure that our water also is antioxidant. Now I was in the store today and I saw that Smart Water has an alkaline water that's also electrolyzed, has electrolytes in there too. So there are products on the market. You don't necessarily have to buy a machine, but just for fun, I did put in your packet a little cost breakdown analysis. I believe it's behind the color sheet that will show you if you did actually invest in something like that versus, for the same period of time, buying bottled water, buying expensive alkaline water, buying regular bottled water, the costs break down on it, and how over time you actually end up saving money, especially if you own a machine for a longer period of time. But like I said, 99 bucks, not too bad if you want to carry something around with you that will actually ionize your water on the spot. Or you could buy a machine and put it in your house, and that's a great way to go too. Does anybody have any questions on any of that? Great. We can go down the oxidative reductive potential pathway of ORP, but the machine itself does give you the ability to alter the ORP. So you're effectively choosing the ability of the water to be able to stop the formation of free radicals in your body. So restructured water, it's not only ionized, but it's restructured and it has an ORP value. So anyway, that's enough nerd talk from me for tonight. Anybody have any questions? Yes. The strips into the water. Yeah, I guess you could buy strips. You could buy pH test strips and you could put them in water and then put it up next to the legend to see exactly where it scores in pH. But anything that's going to be a strip is going to be an estimate, so it's not going to be exact. So there's nothing wrong with that. It'll give you a good window. I mean, you'll know if it's alkaline or you'll know if it's acidic. But if you do want to get it tested, digital pH meter, we can always do that as well. So all you got to do is bring it into the office. A lot of sports teams are now using ionized water in their training facilities. So this is all of the Major League Baseball teams that actually sent letters to Vallara thanking them for, I don't know if Vallara intentionally just sent it to them for free and let them start using it or if they bought it, but either way they're using it and they endorse it. So it's kind of cool. Tom Brady, I'll have to pull up the interview, but Tom Brady is a huge supporter of chiropractic care, eating an alkaline diet, and drinking alkaline water. So, anyway, just fun fact. You know, he won a lot of Super Bowls, so I trust him. All right, so again, just reiterate, if you're just starting out, you're just drinking alkaline water for the first time, I would actually start a little lower. I would start at about 8 for the alkalinity for your water, and then slowly work yourself up to it. So if on a weekly basis you're drinking 8.0 alkaline water, then probably after about 2 weeks of drinking it, I would work your way up to like 8.5 and then eventually 9. 9.5 on a regular basis. You also don't, remember, extremes, so you also don't want to go like super extreme and drink 9.5 and 10.0 alkalinity water, because it actually has the ability to screw up methylation and stomach acid levels, and so on an extended period of time. If you're going to drink alkaline water, I'd be doing 8.5 to 9.0 as a safe range. In short periods of time, you're wanting to detox, you're wanting to really cleanse your body, you're trying to shed weight, you're doing an exercise program, and you're trying to tone up. Like, there's different reasons why you can drink the more alkaline, the higher content of like 9.5 or 10. So, if you have any questions about either machine, you're interested in getting one in your house, or you just want the portable one, let us know. When we have it in the office, we'll get it to you. So that should say $1, but the alkaline water currently is $1 a gallon. We may end up raising it. Just saying. Guess we'll see. But if you have a Stronghold bottle, this is our older version of the water bottle. Could you grab me one of those bottles? And I'll show everybody that's watching on the video. If you have one of our Stronghold bottles, they have a little protective casing on them and a wooden top. Anytime you bring this into the office, you get free refills. So it's pretty cool. I think they're only $14, $12, somewhere in that ballpark. So we'll email this to everybody that's in attendance tonight. We'll send it through Eventbrite. And real quick, pH 10 you can actually use for cleaning fruit and vegetables. So fruits and vegetables that are sprayed with pesticides and herbicides, many of the pesticides and herbicides, a pH of 10 will actually break that compound down, and it will pull it off of the surface of the fruit or vegetable. Very, very cool use. You can take pH 10 water, put that in your pot, and it boils in about a third of the time. I've done it. I've taken neutral water from tap, and I've taken alkaline water, put them both on the stove at the same time in different pots, and the alkaline water boils in a fraction of the time. So I can usually take care of pasta or boiling an egg a lot faster than you will, unless you have pH 10 alkaline water. pH 5.5 is great acidic use. For a pH 5.5, it's slightly acidic. You can actually use it to clean the pores on your skin. So it's a great skin water. A beauty water is what they call it. A pH of 4, you can take extremely acidic water and actually clean raw meat. So there's all kinds of different uses for acid water and alkaline water. That sheet that I provided you will give you some of that information. So if on a regular basis you're like, yeah, I need to restock up on my acidic water, keep that in mind. You can also fill up acid water here at the office. And that's all I've got for you, folks.